Japan extends its state of emergency to the end of this month as the country's healthcare system remains under strain despite falling COVID-19 infections. Some countries in Asia relaxing coronavirus restrictions. India eases some restrictions amid an extended nationwide lockdown that's set to stay until the 17th of May. And in Malaysia, nearly all economic sectors and business activities will be allowed to operate, although with strict safe distancing procedures in place. Hong Kong's economy contracts at its worst pace on record. It declined by a record 8.9% year-on-year in the first quarter, and this puts it on course for a recession potentially worse than the Asian financial crisis. India is easing some COVID-19 restrictions despite reporting its highest single...
Gotta ask yourself, how is it that 60% of the deaths in the United States from supposed COVID are due to suicide? 10,000 of them almost are, or 8,000. Yet 33,000 of them are from opioid overdose. So I don't see it as suicide, but it is suicide. And they're not doing the alcohol either. So it's a really interesting thing, the numbers, if you understand what I mean. And you got this people that are killing their entire family because they don't see a way out and such. It's insane.
A jump in infections yesterday. More than 2,600 new infections take the nation's total past 42,000. And some businesses allowed to reopen are in low-risk areas, but there's confusion over the relaxation of rules, as Rebecca Bunton reports.
The second phase of the lockdown came to an end yesterday, and the government at the end of last week decided to extend the lockdown by an additional 2 weeks till May the 17th. But that did come with the decision that it would ease a number of restrictions. Now, this has caused a lot of confusion with these relaxations because it is something that varies across the different states and also across the different zones that the country has been divided into. Red zones, for example, like Mumbai, which have a very high number of confirmed COVID-19 cases compared to green zones, which haven't seen cases recently, and orange zones as well, where they're considered to be at lower risk. So the government announced that there will be these lifting of some of the restrictions, including allowing some standalone shops to open. Also in green zones and orange zones, for example, cabs being allowed to operate. However, it also comes down to the state governments individually to decide which of these restrictions it actually decides to lift. This is also the source of some worry among some health experts, given the rising number of cases that we're seeing in India, Mumbai having the highest number of confirmed coronavirus cases of any city in the country, and the worry that with an easing of restrictions this could lead to a further increase in cases potentially. But the central government and the state governments as well have been very, very keen to get the economy moving again, because this has been one of the major challenges of the lockdown over the past few weeks, that the economy has essentially ground to a halt, and small businesses, for example, have seen zero revenues. A lot of people out of work in the country, particularly migrant labourers. So that's been a real concern, and the country is very, very keen to get economic activity moving again.
Malaysia is also easing some movement control measures that were imposed to contain the coronavirus. Nearly all economic sectors and business activities will be allowed to reopen, although with strict safe distancing procedures in place. Our senior correspondent in Kuala Lumpur, Melissa Goh, has more.
The new conditional movement order that was announced by Prime Minister Muhyiddin on May 1st officially kicks in today, with significant easing of movement restrictions. Now, basically, almost all business sectors are allowed to reopen, subject to standard operating procedure or SOP, except for cinema, entertainment centres, gym, bazaars, museum, barbershops, where physical distancing is hard to manage. Now, trains and public transport are back in full service, although it's not quite business as usual because of the safe distancing rules. There's the temperature checks at the stations, and Malaysians are advised to wear a mask when out in public. Always have a bottle of sanitizer with them if washing hands regularly is not possible. It's a new norm Malaysians are getting used to. Restaurants too can open for dine-in and not just for takeout only. Now, many are getting the SOP ready before they allow their customers in.
Most important for me is to protect my staff because they are constant. To me, they're the frontliners. So I think we order all the PPE as they are coming in. That's number one. Then number two is to help if there is a need for tracing, so the SOP is quite clear.
So to put down their names.
Put down the names, temperature.
Now, also for the first time in nearly 7 weeks, Malaysians can come out for a bit of exercise. I see joggers on the streets. They can do so in small groups of not more than 10, but close contact sports such as football, rugby and swimming are still prohibited.
It's been 1.5 months without any jog, so good to be outside again.
Now, on the streets, I see a lot more cars. Some roadblocks have been removed, but it's only in and around Kuala Lumpur. Not all states are following this conditional MCO with the easing of restrictions. Some states, like in Negeri Sembilan, dining in is still not allowed. Now, from Sabah to Penang, many states are opting to not lift the restrictions till they are ready, but they worry that lifting it too quickly will risk a fresh wave of infections. And the federal government said it's okay. There's no need to rush. The state government can exercise their own discretion and use the SOP as a guideline. The bottom line is the sooner Malaysians learn to live safely and responsibly with the virus, the better. It will be at least a year before a vaccine or effective treatment is found. The most important thing, the Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham said, Malaysia has enough beds, has enough ventilators. The government needs to protect the livelihood of the people, ensure the survival of the businesses and to save jobs. Now, otherwise, the government will end up shouldering the financial costs. Now, each day of the lockdown is costing the country some $500 billion. Now, with oil prices all-time low, it's facing tremendous fiscal constraints. Melissa Goh, CNA, Kuala Lumpur.
Malaysia has reported 55 new infections with no new fatalities. So that brings the nationwide tally to more than 6,300 cases and 105 deaths. Thailand is starting a new work week after restrictions were lifted yesterday, allowing some restaurants, hair salons and open-air markets to resume operations. But those businesses must observe strict health guidelines, including safe distancing, mask wearing, as well as better hygiene. Parks have also reopened to the public again, and the sale of alcohol is now allowed. While Thais head out to enjoy the outdoors, authorities have warned they could reverse the easing of restrictions should infections spike during this 14-day observation period. Thailand has reported 18 new cases today, bringing the national tally to nearly 3,000 infections. The number of deaths stands at 54. In the Philippines, the government's decision to stop all commercial flights has left hundreds of thousands of Filipinos stranded abroad, with many of them now jobless. And this as quarantine facilities in the country are reaching maximum capacity. The government has been using hotel rooms and ships docked in harbours as quarantine centres, but they are now overwhelmed due to the sheer number of returning Filipinos. More than 24,000 Filipinos have returned home, and authorities expect at least another 40,000 to arrive in the coming weeks. The country has reported more than 9,400 cases of COVID-19 and 623 deaths. More schools across Vietnam have reopened as it further eases coronavirus restrictions. The country has reported more than 270 infections, but no deaths. Our correspondent, Tung No, tells us more from Hanoi.
Tens of millions of students across Vietnam returned to schools on Monday as classes are reopened after more than 3 months of closure due to coronavirus. The relaxation is part of Vietnam's incremental and gradual lifting of restrictive measures. With the reopening of schools, preventive measures are in place. Schools divide classes into offline and online sessions. classrooms adopt new arrangements with smaller number of students in each class to reduce the risk. At this school in Hanoi, about 1,009 graders are back to classes on Monday morning. Mandatory mask wearing and body temperature checks are now new routines they need to follow. There has been confusion for some on the first day of school reopening. This 7th grader arrived only to learn his class won't be reopened until later this week. As part of a new class design, students are returning to schools in batches.
Hồi hộp phết đấy, tại lâu lắm rồi không đến trường, không gặp bạn, thầy cô, các bạn khác nữa. Với cả sau kỳ nghỉ thì sáng dậy con cũng lo lắng, thấy sợ không biết có đến được trường kịp không. Tại ở nhà cái giờ giấc ngủ, giờ giấc sinh hoạt nó bị tráo lộn lên khá nhiều.
Cũng vui, gặp lại bạn bè. Lúc trở lại trường, chưa học online cũng chán. Thấy nó không quen lắm. Bởi ở nhà lâu quá.
Teachers say they are worried the most about the breaks between sessions when students go out to play and could easily forget personal preventive measures. Vietnam's government said the country has brought local transmission under control. The country has moved to a more aggressive testing and tracing strategy to detect early any new infection. Vietnam is expected to continue to ease restrictive measures to revive its economy. Tung Ngo, CNA, Hanoi.
Australia has reported its biggest daily jump in infections in 2 weeks. There are 26 new cases recorded in 3 states. Reports say this figure could rise as more states and territories report case numbers throughout the day. 19 of the new infections are connected to a meat processing plant in Victoria State, while one case is a 7-year-old in New South Wales. The primary school
Meat
in
processing
Sydney that
place.
the boy attends has been closed
Think
for
about it,
intensive
people.
cleaning. The school infection is raising
Same as in
questions
America.
of whether children should attend classes during the outbreak. The federal government says
Doesn't raise a
schools
question on
should
how the
stay
fucking meat
open
processing
since
places that
children
are
carry
doing the
a low
beef and
risk
the
of
chicken
spreading the illness.
and the pork
But some
from China.
state governments have urged parents to keep children at home. New South Wales will reopen schools on a staggered basis from next week, while children in Victoria are being kept at home until the middle of the year.
You're not getting it from your sheep unless you've
New
infected your
Zealand
sheep
has
already.
reported no new cases of the coronavirus for the first time since mid-March. And there are also no virus-related deaths, with the country's death toll at 20. Despite the positive signs, officials
Once upon a
remain
virus,
cautious.
China mocks
Now they
US
say that
and
safe
Lego-like
distancing measures
animation.
must continue to ensure the virus does not return.
Clearly, these are encouraging figures today, but it is just one moment in time. The real test is later this week when we factor in the incubation period for the virus and the time it takes for people to display symptoms, which is generally 5 to 6 days after exposure. So that's when we will have an indication if there are any new cases coming through that might be emerging in the community as a result of our shift from level 4 to level 3.
Well, it's been less than a week after the country ended a strict lockdown that appears to have contained the outbreak. Next Monday, officials will make a decision on whether to lower the alert level. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern will be holding a meeting with Australia tomorrow, and she will discuss the possibility of a travel bubble between the two countries with Australia's emergency coronavirus cabinet.
One key aspect of our plan to get New Zealand moving is the work on the Trans-Tasman bubble. The meeting will discuss a range of matters in relation to the COVID response on both sides of the Tasman, including the creation of a Trans-Tasman travel bubble.
Snow leopard.
Business news up next with Elizabeth Neo, and it seems more help for India's reliance industries.
Thanks, Belinda. Yep, they're getting more help in paying the debt. They've raised $750 million in the form of an American private equity firm. I'll give you the details in a bit.
En rentrant chez nous à la maison, on est toujours dans ces images-là de ce qu'on a fait au travail, est-ce qu'on a bien fait, est-ce qu'on a fait assez. On n'arrive plus à manger, on n'arrive plus à dormir. On pleure dans notre voiture parce qu'on a vécu des moments très très difficiles sur notre journée de travail.
As well as offering osteopathy for staff, this hospital in Mulhouse, eastern France, has set up an area to provide mental health support.
Entretien psychologique, un peu comme un SAS, peut-être avant le retour au domicile. pour essayer de décharger ce qu'il avait déchargé ici et repartir un peu libéré de ça.
Helping them take a load off their shoulders, this nurse belongs to a team that goes around the hospital meeting and talking to staff members every day from 11 o'clock to 2 in the morning.
Aujourd'hui, par exemple, la dernière infirmière que j'ai vue, c'était... ce qui était difficile pour elle, c'était la maison, le fait que le conjoint ne comprenne pas ce qui se passe ici à l'hôpital.
Hospitals around the country are looking after their staff in various ways.
Bonjour.
This one in Marseille is offering free haircuts, courtesy of a stylist whose salons are currently closed.
J'ai toujours plaisir de rencontrer d'autres personnes et de voir aussi qu'il y a des gens bénévoles qui viennent un peu nous aider.
On the outskirts of Paris, this hospital set up a relaxation room, complete with massage chairs and soothing bubbles. While in the courtyard, there's a food truck handing out free burgers and chips. It's run by two friends whose neighbours have chipped in to allow them to come back every week and give something back to the doctors and nurses who've been giving so much.
Now, among the exceptional measures taken to deal with the sudden influx of patients, French authorities rapidly turned towards medical and nursing students for backup. Thrown into the deep end of new and dangerous waters, these youngsters had to upskill on the go and often perform procedures until then reserved to their elders. Well, tell us about that experience. We can cross now to our guest, Vincent Borgne, from France's National Association of Medical Students. Hello, thank you very much for being with us.
Bonjour.
Breakout, but yesterday India recorded its greatest one-day rise in cases so far. There are now 42,000 cases and nearly 1,400 deaths. Police in India are taking a slightly different approach to many countries, though, dressing as the coronavirus to warn residents about the risks and even scaring children a little. Greece has begun moving migrants from its most crowded island camps to try to prevent an outbreak of coronavirus. Health officials on Lesbos Island have supervised the transfer of a large group of mainly families and the elderly. More than 2,000 people will eventually be transferred from 5 Aegean islands to accommodation on the mainland. And Rio de Janeiro has called in the big guns to get the COVID-19 message out. The city's famous Christ the Redeemer is now wearing a surgical mask to encourage locals to do the same. A funeral service has been held for the youngest of the 4 victims of Melbourne's Eastern Freeway crash. 28-year-old Constable Joshua Presney was honoured in the same way as his 3 fallen colleagues ahead of a larger memorial once social distancing restrictions are eased. James Hancock reports.
Joshua Presney followed his brother into the police force, and it was First Constable Alex Presney who gave him his badge when he graduated in December last year. Today he was again by his brother's side, not in celebration, but sorrow.
He will always, always, to us, be a hero.
Joshua Presney's parents Andrew, Belinda and his partner Stacey said their own goodbyes and honoured his short but commended service.
He was such a caring man, and so many commented that he had such a career ahead of him.
The small and private farewell was held at his former school Xavier College in Kew, close to where he was killed on the Eastern Freeway when he and 3 other officers were hit by a truck. His was the last of the 4 funerals, but it was no less poignant, with officers performing what's become a devastatingly familiar observance.
This week and a half, I think, has touched Victorians in a way that not many other things do.
A larger memorial service is planned for Constable Presney and the 3 other officers once social distancing restrictions are relaxed.
There is so much interest that we've commenced the planning already, but we need to wait until we've got some idea of when those restrictions will be lifted that will enable us to do a fitting farewell.
To 4 officers whose sacrifice will be memorialised. James Hancock, ABC News, Melbourne.
A police officer has been suspended and is likely to be charged over photographs taken of former North Melbourne AFL coach Dean Laidley while he was in custody. The pictures were taken at St Kilda Police Station on Saturday night after Laidley had been arrested and charged with a number of offences, including stalking. A senior constable is expected to be charged with unauthorised disclosure of information.
It's unacceptable conduct, it's appalling conduct, and that type of conduct has no place in our organisation.
Police believe the constable sent the pictures of Laidley to 6 other officers who will all be investigated. New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro has pulled out as a potential candidate for the federal seat of Eden-Monaro. The Nationals leader had long held ambitions to make the switch to federal politics. His decision to stay put means the state's Transport Minister, Liberal Andrew Constance, is likely to announce his candidacy tomorrow. Ashley Wafer reports.
He was poised to make a play for federal parliament, but John Barilaro will stay put as Deputy Premier.
The polling showed that I could win, but sometimes in this game you let ego get in the way of good decisions, and I've got to make the best decision for me, my family, for the people of New South Wales, more importantly for the people of Eden-Monaro.
Mike Kelly's retirement as the Labor member for Eden-Monaro has left an opening, and John Barilaro had been fanning speculation that he was the person to fill the spot, until push came to shove. I'm comfortable being the Deputy Premier and the state leader, and I've got a lot to contribute. He'll remain a powerful force in the coalition partnership that's at times challenging for the Premier.
Extraordinarily pleased, very pleased. I'll let him speak for himself, but I'm very pleased that he's staying part of our strong team in New South Wales.
Another senior member of the team is tipped to go instead. The Transport Minister Andrew Constance, who steered his South Coast community through the bushfire crisis. He's likely to announce tomorrow that he'll contest the marginal seat for the Liberals.
The chances of the coalition winning it is improved by having a Liberal run. Eden-Monaro is not National Party territory traditionally. I'm a fan of Andrew Constance. I think Andrew Constance can win the seat.
First, though, he'll have to get past the other potential Liberal candidate, federal Senator Jim Molan, and then face off against Labor's candidate, the Bega Valley Mayor Christy McBain. So what does this all mean for the New South Wales government? Well, the Premier will have to continue to contend with a coalition troublemaker in John Barilaro. But you'll also have to manage an upheaval. If Andrew...
Singapore's battle against COVID-19 takes a turn.
State of emergency to the end of this month as the country's healthcare system remains under strain despite falling COVID-19 infections. Some countries in Asia relaxing coronavirus restrictions. India eases some measures amid an extended nationwide lockdown until the 17th of May, while Malaysia reopens nearly all economic sectors and business activities, although with strict safe distancing procedures in place. Hong Kong's economy contracts at its worst pace on record. It declined by a record 8.9% year-on-year in the first quarter, and this puts it on course for a recession, potentially worse than the Asian financial crisis. Japan is extending its state of emergency till the end of this month. It had been due to end on Wednesday. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says he needs more cooperation from the Japanese as the healthcare system remains under strain. Japan has been under a state of emergency for about a month now, and so far it has reported more than 15,000 infections and around 540 deaths. Although there's been a downward trend in daily new infections, Mr. Abe says the number has not fallen enough. He adds that this month will be crucial to determine when social and economic activities can resume. With the pandemic likely to last for a long period, Japan is expected to adapt to a new lifestyle which combines preventive measures and maintaining social and economic activities.
Wow.
Japan is 6 days into its Golden Week holidays that stretches over 8 days this year. It's traditionally the peak travel season, but it's been very different for Japanese this year due to COVID-19, as Michio Ishida reports.
The roller coasters fall silent. The Ferris wheel stands still. Japan's Golden Week holidays have never been so muted. This is the Tokyo Dome. It's the home stadium for one of Japan's oldest pro baseball team, the Yomiuri Giants. Now, baseball is one of Japan's most popular spectator sports, and the season was supposed to open in March. However, the date has been postponed and postponed. A state of emergency over COVID-19 was initially declared on April 7th across 7 regions, but was later expanded to cover the entire country. While the government cannot force Japanese to stay at home, data show people movements in Tokyo have gone down by 70%.
今お散歩してきたんですけど、やってないので、逆にやってないので空いてるんで子供をそこで歩かせたりしてます。はい。
The Golden Week refers to a string of public holidays that Japan typically observes from late April to early May. During an average Golden Week, this area would be filled with fun-seeking families.
普通のゴールデンウィークだったらどのように過ごしてますか？旅行に行って今回も旅行したのキャンセルして、はい。
May's Yasuda Life Insurance says in a survey that 66.3% of its respondents will stay home during the Golden Week holidays. Now, their average spending during the Golden Week is expected to be half of an average Golden Week. In Ueno Park, a popular tourist spot in Tokyo, residents find that they have the park all to themselves.
非常に閑散としております。はい。2月から、3月上旬まではインバウンドで本当にもう歩けばぶつかるような観光客の皆さんがお見えになってたんですが。
There are not many reasons for tourists to be here anyway. Ueno is home to many museums. Those are all closed. The zoo has been closed since the end of February, and many other businesses are shut.
自営なんですけれども、仕事ゴールデンウィークもやっておりましたけれども、今年は休業要請ということで、仕事は休んでおります。
The restriction on people movement is hitting the economy hard. The restaurant this lady used to work at recently folded.
小レストランみたいなところなので、お客さんも海外の人たちが多かったので、もうお客さんいないですし、もちろん営業もできないので。
A survey by Teikoku Data Bank showed some 100 companies have filed for bankruptcy since the COVID-19 pandemic began. Many are hotels and restaurants. The picture is far from golden. Michio Ishida, CNA, Tokyo.
In global tallies of COVID-19 infections and deaths, one national source of data is conspicuously absent. North Korea maintains there are 0 cases within its borders, where the population faces daily struggles in the face of crippling international sanctions, and conceivably the result of being the first country in the world to impose a national lockdown and shut out the coronavirus, or simply a secretive state polishing the carefully honed image of leader Kim Jong-un still firmly in control. Christine Chan reports.
On January the 13th, the first case of COVID-19 outside of mainland China was recorded in Thailand. By January the 20th, infections had skyrocketed in China. North Korea closed all its borders, banned foreign tourists and all flights in and out of China, intensifying the screening of their residents, isolating those with symptoms, in the first national lockdown in the world, 3 days before Wuhan was shut down. Health experts have carefully watched for signs that the novel coronavirus may have spread from China to North Korea, especially through the largest Chinese city along the North Korean border, Dandong.
Dandong is the largest Chinese city along the North Korean border, so an estimated 70% of trade between China and North Korea flows through Dandong.
Inevitably, the movement of people, of goods and services through this border thoroughfare would have exposed some 880,000 people, on a conservative estimate, to the risk of COVID-19 infection. From his self-isolation in the mountains of Utah, Dr. Key Park, global health expert and long-time trainer of doctors and surgeons in North Korea, tells me.
I think it's a massive threat. It's a huge public health threat, what their death toll could be. And for North Korea, it was as high as 150,000 deaths inside their borders. If COVID-19 were to sort of, explode if you will, and then the number of beds that they would need, hospital beds, it would exceed their current capacity. For instance, the ICU numbers, at a minimum, they would need 2,500 ICU beds. And the implication is that these are, ventilator equipped ICU beds. They don't have that. And so this is a huge threat, and it will remain to be a threat for some time to come until we have good therapeutics or vaccine.
All healthcare services in North Korea are organized and funded by the state, predictably the subject of international scrutiny and skepticism for a very long time. Few outside of Pyongyang truly believe that the ordinary citizen has sufficient or adequate access to regular sources of nutrition or sustenance, let alone timely medical treatment, with the exception of the ruling elite. The World Food Programme says about 40% of the population in North Korea is undernourished. Food insecurity and malnutrition are widespread there, which makes the prospects of contracting COVID-19 if you live in North Korea, still subject to sanctions, with the global pandemic raging on around it, terrifying, to say the least.
Based on the way they're behaving, right, the public health policies and the restrictions, there's a certain amount of confidence in their ability to contain the virus. They're not going to be very careless about these things. They are super risk averse, so they won't relax these measures unless they feel fairly confident that if there is an outbreak, it's still contained. There's the prevention, and then there's the treatment. And the better you are at preventing, the less treatment capacity you need. So North Korea is doing both. They're actually trying to increase treatment capacity by building hospitals. They're clearly, investing in oxygen generation capacity and those kinds of things. And then at the same time, they're trying to keep the borders locked down, quarantine measures, these kinds of what we call non-medical countermeasures. They're actively applying both, but there's a gap in treatment capacity, and they're going to try to build that up as quickly as possible.
Dr. Park will also be working as quickly as possible on returning to North Korea. Since 2007, he's made more than 20 trips there to teach and train the doctors, most recently in November of 2019.
North Korean doctors are super capable. They're amazing. It's really the geopolitical climate that prevents the health of North Korean people from improving. I like to say peace is a prerequisite for health. And the absence and then failure to achieve a peace on the Korean Peninsula directly impacts how the vulnerable population in North Korea, the clean water, basic medical needs, even food insecurity, these are all directly impacted by the fact that there's still an ongoing war. So, that's the greatest challenge, in my opinion, is can we get to peace, a sustainable peace regime on the Korean Peninsula? Then I can work alongside the North Korean doctors. And our enemies, not each other, but the disease or the injury that is inflicted to patients.
Even if no one in North Korea has yet been infected, Kim Jong-un's dream of achieving self-supported economic development by leveraging a nuclear arsenal may already have been frustrated by this coronavirus unseen to the naked eye. Christine Chan, CNA, Singapore.
A former senior North Korean diplomat has apologized for raising suspicions over the health of Kim Jong-un. Tae Yong-ho had said the North Korean leader was likely too ill to even stand. But on Saturday, the North state media released pictures of Mr. Kim, apparently in good health, at the opening ceremony of a fertilizer plant. Mr. Tae says he's disappointed many who trusted him to accurately analyze North Korean issues. Mr. Tae was Pyongyang's deputy ambassador to Britain and managed secret funds for Mr. Kim. After his defection, he was recently elected as a member of the South Korean parliament, becoming the first North Korean to win a seat. The South's ruling party has criticized him for misinforming the public. Around 4.5 million people are returning to work as Italy gradually unwinds the world's longest coronavirus lockdown. People are heading outside for the first time in 2 months, and some businesses are slowly resuming services. Restaurants and bars that have managed to weather the storm will reopen for takeaway services only. But schools, cinemas and hair salons remain closed. Factories and construction sites have been given the green light to restart operations, but social distancing measures remain in place despite the easing of measures. Residents are discouraged from taking public transport and must wear masks in indoor public spaces. Now, Italy is the hardest hit country in Europe, with the world's second highest death toll after the United States. It has recorded nearly 29,000 deaths so far. The number of new deaths has fallen since the lockdown, but Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte warns that the epidemic is not over, calling for responsibility and caution.
60% of United States deaths.
US President Donald Trump says he believes a coronavirus vaccine could be available by the end of the year. Mr. Trump was speaking at a virtual town hall hosted by local media.
We are very confident that we're going to have a vaccine at the end of the year. By the end of the year, have a vaccine. Get our life back. We have to get our country back. We have to get the world back. We want to have, if we have a stadium in Alabama that holds 110,000 people against LSU, I went there. We want to have 110,000. We don't want to have 25,000 people or 40,000 people, and that'll happen. Maybe it's going to be a vaccine, or maybe it's going to be that this virus will pass. It will go. Will it come back? It might. It could. Some people say yes.
Many health experts, though, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, have cautioned that a vaccine is likely to a year to 18 months away, while Mr. Trump has been eager to reopen the U.S. economy and put the virus crisis behind him ahead of November's presidential election. Rudy Dalve in Washington tells us the significance of the town hall and what mileage the president hopes to get from it.
Well, it's in the symbolism, really, isn't it, of the president sitting there by arguably one of the most iconic US presidents. He is trying to showcase himself in the minds of viewers and voters as a presidential figure looking ahead to the November election. And this comes at a time where several polls are showing his rival, the presumptive Democratic nominee, Joe Biden, ahead nationally of President Trump, even in some key marginals in some swing states. The lead might not be as great as it is nationally, but there is still a small lead that Joe Biden has in some of those polls, in some of those swing states. So this is really the President, Donald Trump, talking about the reopening of the economy, which aids view as key to his re-election bid. He talked a lot about many of the things that we've heard, we're familiar with from those briefings that he used to give at the White House that he doesn't give on a daily basis anymore. Talking about the blaming of China, the theories about the emergence of the virus from a lab in Wuhan.
It came from China. It should have been stopped. It could have been stopped on the spot.
The fact of his toughness with China, with tariffs, his belief that the economy will get back to greater heights than it was previous to the shutdown.
We have to get our country back, yeah. I don't want to do this forever.
He talked, confirmed reports that intelligence officials had warned the president of the virus as early as January the 23rd, but he said that it was presented as not a big deal, that it was a brief conversation, and anyway, subsequently, a few days later, on January the 30th, he implemented that much-touted travel restriction against China and then other countries. So those are some of the familiar refrains that he repeated in this town hall. Later on, he was joined by Vice President Mike Pence and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Interestingly, won a concession from Vice President Mike Pence that he should have worn a mask at that visit to the Mayo Clinic last week, where he was shown as the only one not wearing a mask, surrounded by officials with masks. It was, according to the clinic, their policy that visitors wear masks, and he conceded, the Vice President, having defended it in the past, conceded that he should have worn a mask.
The U.S. Supreme Court will now be broadcast live for the first time in history. It is resuming hearing cases after a pause due to the pandemic. The justices will be participating from home with live audio broadcast. No cameras will be involved. And several media outlets will also be able to broadcast live exchanges between justices and lawyers arguing their cases. Traditionally, electronic equipment is strictly banned in the courtroom. Malaysia has announced mandatory
Inshallah, when all this is done, I would love for you and your wife to come and enjoy and play with us. The green and blue is chlorinated quartz. There are things that I noticed on the property. It's interesting. It's nice. This thing not tell me when people are talking. I need to send you some things to help you with that for what's going on. A good friend, I just met his father today for the first time. Young man. He's just now getting to meet his dad. I never met my father. His dad drove up to spend the day with him. And they come up here. Yeah, it was crazy. When we first opened, people would argue with us. And we never put a price tag on things, but for some reason, you put a price tag on something and people want it. That always killed me inside. Little sister Audrey is autistic. And she walked up with her finger, her tooth, a little bit. Hello. Imaginations of children. It's the sickle zoom. American USA. It's the truth, people. You understand? This is what's gonna throw the CDC off and make even more issue with data and people not understanding that, it's like the movie The Shining, like the book. The book was a lot better than the movie, but people know the movie. People locked inside their house. No, drug overdoses aren't seen as suicide. If it's intentional opioid, this is not a suicide. They're not counting alcohol either. You break this down out of the suicides, and those are people that are killing their whole family, mother and father, as they see no way out. You guys understand? If you subtract that from the COVID infections, you understand? %60 of United States COVID deaths are from people killing themselves from the loss of their job. Like in the Great Depression. What the fuck is really going on, people? Right. So, this is April 25th. That's 9 days ago. That's 11 days ago. Yesterday. That makes you wonder what is going on, folks. Right. Like I said, the worst isn't going to happen until September. And I've been stating what's going to happen with unemployment. I've been saying about child abuse, spousal abuse, domestic violence back in January to now. Alcohol and so forth around the world have been banned. Or been banned. Not anymore. So isn't a drug overdose a suicide? Yeah. But anyhow. From a longer COVID story. What study did they do longer? Hmm? This is fucking... Right. That's straight the movie The Shining. We just got sent to the... We just got sent to that place, folks. Right. It's interesting, on the same day, that's the 23rd. You got fucking Keshe's right-hand woman sharing that shit, telling people there's only fucking 3 strands. That video there, down on the bottom. That came out yesterday, 2 weeks after. This bullshit that them fucking Keshe people printed. Right. They're selling their shit in that country. Besides the meat and so forth. But they plagiarize and play fucking telephone always. With that Chinese lady and that Erwin the Rose link. She shares this information, but they chop it up. And as you hear Pompeo and so forth state, China has to be what? Testing this shit and seeing how American they can get it. The States says they did. But this is the doctor that they're trying to arrest right now. He's the #1 specialist, Lee. The one they're talking about in that thing. And if you see, this is a non-peer reviewed piece of paper. It's like fucking Keshe when he talks about stuff and he spreads this stuff. It's not peer reviewed. None of this shit is peer reviewed. Stuff that has been peer reviewed, it's thrown away. You understand? It's non-peer reviewed shit. It's being sold and passed around. It's non-peer reviewed. This shit is what is being circulated. Took an unusual approach and cultured and grew what? Coronavirus. She specializes in the bat variety and testing to see how to make it more viral. Nowhere in this thing do they state China knew about it in September. If your urine has a different resistance speed and so forth, because your interstitial water is conductive to you, your mineral content, your metal content, to the solvent, which is your water. Of course, even your blood type and underlying health conditions. Moreover, your holoblastic cleavage point. But anyhow, that's why it's so important to use a laser, TDS meter, or and so forth when making your stuff, along with the spirituality and beautiful intention, true intention. Writing BP 882 and cytokine storm outside of your glasses that you use in your containers. They say late December, right? It's a lie. Had been saying that people's fecal matter and so forth was infectious. Been saying this has been human to human for a while, since January. Gastric corona. Enough DNA to hybridize. 1 month, 2 weeks, 4 days. Not 3 weeks, 4 days. Because who came out and said it's not a world issue, it's China's problems. Right? The news will prove me wrong or right. We'll see. Well, it's been doing this for proving me right, echoing me months later. How come all the meat processing places, people getting sick? And that fool told people eating red gans to be like the piggies. That's basically it, brother. Several pups. You guys keep making their stuff and don't realize that stuff's not for peace.
Welcome everyone to the 277th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, May 23rd, 2019. This is a broadcast from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, part of the public teachings in English. I'll be your host today, Rick Cramond, and as always, we're joined with Mr. Mayran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation.
Listen how he sounds then and how he sounds now.
Ready to go.
Still sounds whack as fuck.
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
But not sick.
Yes.
Sick.
But that you, as usual, wherever you listen to these public teachings. It's a very interesting time which are coming up. One in the direction of the understanding of the soul, one in the direction of understanding of the space technology, and in so many ways.
Remember who did Trump kill?
Perhaps sometimes with Jalal.
He killed the dude that this motherfucker just
part
fucking
of
appointed
this
as
understanding and this teaching for us.
the Iranian space
about
program.
how we handle the energies of soul and the rest of it.
Right.
This is important as
Understand what you
we
see
had
in the
people
news.
in the
I've been trying to
past,
tell
they
you
came
people
up
the
and they
truth
showed us the reactors, the
Remember
gas
March
making
12th,
and
they
whatever.
raised their flag in
Now we are
Iran and
going
took it
into
over.
the other direction that we
Now they talk trying to
understand
get all the
those who
administrators together so
understood
they can infect
the
them.
totality or part of the totality in the effect of the energies of the universe. They teach us their understanding, and some of us will learn from it, some of us will learn it, and some of us come back with what we built and we will learn from it to teach more.
Secret space program that's been
It is
going for 100 years.
very interesting in many things which is happening around the world, and we'll come
Remember,
back
he
to
just
it
called himself an
in
alien.
so many ways. Keshe
After
Foundation
saying
work
he's the
is a
Messiah
work of peace.
and the seal of prophets.
We work to create a condition for peace by sharing equal the knowledge, the science, the technology, the benefits of it. And in so many ways,
these dumbass Americans helping them.
we see a lot of fairly early stages of the development. As I said, we haven't even started crawling to get on the first steps before we have to in the past 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. We're going to the next step, and we see step by step where we go.
He said he needed how many people?
The things which is
14 million sick to complete his geomancy spell.
And this is, as many of you know, the situation in Persian Gulf between Iran and United States is of a huge concern. And we hope that the leaders will find a solution, that we do not enter war. We hope both the Americans and the Iranian leadership find a way to understand each other's problem. But there are a lot of things that internationally are known, and it's the job of scientists like me, people who are the initiators of this technology, people who carry this technology, brought this technology forward to stages of advancement in part, and with other scientists, we are developing it to a point that we all get benefit by it. We have to understand how we come to this point between these two nations. How we can change things, how is possible, what's the reason behind it. I urge the leaders to talk, to find a solution. I pray for their souls that they find a solution. Because killing one nation's sons and daughters is not the solution. I'm not so much worried about the Iranian nation. I'm more worried about the United States nation. There is a lot of things that the public do not understand, and I make a point of it today for you to understand. The American government has not openly declared why they are after Iran in such a way. As I've seen in one poster, they have posted all the soldiers all the way around Iran except in Russia, and they say Iran is looking for war. Why? Why is such intention? Why is there that other nations are not supporting it? And America single-handedly, totally is chasing this. Now, we see the signs. Now, we have to understand why. What's the reason behind this? Many of you do not know. And I would like to open a new chapter in the chapter of peace. If you'll be shocked, it's not my problem. You should have been aware of it. If you go on the internet and check on all the nations, United States, China, Japan, Australia, England, France, all advanced nations have a military force to defend their territory, and not only defend their territory, defend their citizens across the world. They're taken hostage. We go out to save everything we've done together as humanity. But there is a very big mystery that today I open up, and maybe the American leadership and the government who's listening might understand and get heed on it. In past 2 or 3 weeks, I extensively covered this, warned of the disaster, and many of you misread my warning. What I want you to do, if you are and you understand the process of the whole structure, is that if you look, as I said, just go on the internet and check all the military forces, nations who have military, small or big. We always keep soldiers. We think these soldiers are there, armed forces are there to protect us. But there is a mystery in this so-called aggression of war on Iran. And I explained to you what the mystery is. If you go on the internet and press something very interesting, put Aerospace Force. We are not talking about Air Force. We are talking aerospace as a part of military. You find out, you'll see
drone strike kill.
The two nations have aerospace force, and these are the nations who have managed to break into the space technology in a huge way. That's why have made a space as part of defense technology for their citizens, not for aggression, but for peace. The first one you will see is Russia, some 460,000 armed forces. The next one you see, and that is after Russia is the second in line, is the nation of Iran. Why the American government directly targeted such a part of the Iranian forces is because this force is specialized in space development. These are the people who capture the drones. These are the people who have a lot of knowledge scientifically. Iran is so advanced in the space technology that it has brought the space protection of its nationals as part of its force. Iran is the first nation which carries an aerospace force. It means we respect the space of the
He can cause and knock out electrical grids like they're doing in
whatever we
Venezuela
call
and blame it on
as
America.
part of the protection, not only for Iran, but for all the nations on this planet. When you have something to protect, you protect all your neighbors, not just yourself. You protect your family, not just yourself. When it's a time of trouble, you are generous, you give to protect that they can survive. And this is the exact dilemma which, at the moment, America never explained to no one what's the reason behind this doggedly attack on Iran. Let me explain to you something very directly. Iranian aerospace force is untouchable. I took the space into Iran, the knowledge of a spaceship, and it's been used for peaceful application. When I speak for the first time for you to understand why America was so eager, they want to get
a weapon for
access to this technology in Iran.
Every talk.
Iran does not need nuclear. We produce because part of the nuclear is needed for the deep space travel. We do not need to create weapons. Iran is a peaceful nation. It has to be understood, and clearly by capture of many drones of American forces in the past years, Iran has shown its superiority. All these, up to now, you did not know why, is because American government in conjunction with the Israelis want to get access to the Iranian space technology, which is over 100 to 200 years ahead of NASA technology.
Why do you say eye for an eye if it's peace?
Check. Go on Iran military forces. You will see under the Army of Iran Air Space Force. And in the move since last few days, the head of Iranian space has been made the head of Iranian army because he knows how to access into this capture. Please withdraw these things from the screen. We do not need to show. Russians, I do not mind. We're not here to make propaganda. We're just explaining the situation, what's happening in Iran. The head of the Iranian new army, please remove this, is, you have put the Russians have the same. Russia made their aerospace defense after Iran. After the 2014. Iran showed the technology in 2011. Can you close your microphone, please? And this, can you close the microphone, please? And this is what is all about. The push on the Chinese economical conditions, Russians, this was all decoy to get to the Persian Gulf, keep all these busy that they can get in to capture the Iranian space technology. But there is one proviso. The citizens of United States, the citizens of Israel, citizens of Saudi Arabia, work and accept the ethos of Christ, blesses his name.
So listen to this, people. Eye for an eye.
And it says, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Sons of Iran touched, daughters of Iran touched. It's the same as any other sons and daughters.
Y'all been working for somebody saying peace. Listen to them.
Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. We do not need to touch the tooth. We do not need to touch the eye.
Your own death now.
Now that we understand why American forces are so eager and no European governments and no other support, is because the Europeans and the rest understand Iran advancement in the space technology.
All in them groups working for your own death.
The knowledge of Iran belongs to humanity, the way I have shared.
You take people's ideas and shit out of the groups.
In my life,
the
loss of millions would not be by the earthquake. By the time the capability of the forces of Iranian, what I call defense, by use of the space program is shown, B-52 is a child game, is a mouse in the hand of a cat. Most probably all the satellites will be dismantled in no time. Plasma technology, Tehran, Washington, in no time. You try to drop a bomb on Tehran. In my many of teachings, I said, when a friend gives a gift, you don't need to return. But this time you have a more advanced way to return. And we know the knowledge of the plasma technology. Washington will be unbelievable. New York, the same. Los Angeles.
Other things like that.
Every city to one city.
You got idiots in America fucking making this shit for you guys,
I can give you a guarantee. If Iran is not sold internally by certain people,
y'all think I'm stupid. I keep getting kicked out of groups and groups and groups, and they keep stealing more and more.
The same story has happened in Japan in the Second World War. Will cover the United States through the understanding of the new technology. Be warned by the actions of the United States.
Not ever been for peace, and every one of his talks he talks
We
about
do not
it being
want
used as a
war.
fucking weapon, man.
We are claiming peace, and we stick to peace. But Iran aerospace is the first nation aerospace, and it's the crown in the jewel of the world scientists, not only Iran.
Nothing against people saying defending themselves, but if you keep training at you all for peace,
We can protect the territorial land of Iran,
millions of people.
but when
Dummies that
you
are
are
involved with
attacked,
making the shit.
we saw what happened.
Giving up your information.
The Japanese attacked
Kill you and your
Port
family.
Harbor.
Now and in the future.
We saw the Americans ended up in Hiroshima. This time, the story is the power is in the hand of Iranian Space Force. We should not use this technology out of the fear, but we should enjoy the pleasures of its existence. I call upon American forces to withdraw from Persian Gulf. We are friends, and we are the
That's
same.
why you're doing what you're doing, right?
I call on Saudi leadership.
Why you infected everybody with COVID.
You purchased the most advanced air defense technology from Israel, who's killing the Palestinians the last few months for billions of dollars. You signed a $200 million military contract with America to buy the hub. I have a very bad news for you. They knew that they cannot use these technologies they sold to you. They sold the scrap heap because Iran technology will make a scrap of 300-400 billion investments in what they cannot sell anymore. the reason the American president is supporting the 200 billion sale so doggedly is because they would not be able to sell anymore after if they test Iran. The same with the Israelis who sold you such an advanced defense technology. The reason is that in the war between Syria and Iran, Iran showed the Israeli militaries the power of the space technology. They know they don't stand a chance. As I said, there will be no more war in mankind and in human race.
That's a lie, dude. You made this shit and now there's a fucking Cold
And
War
this is my last warning
going with this bullshit.
to the United States of America. Choose the path of peace. Otherwise,
It's affected everybody, dude, with this fucking COVID.
when you hit somebody in the face, you do not expect a kiss.
Yeah, you do this how I do. Give him a kiss and a hug, baby.
You got to understand, the minute the power of the United States is wiped out,
Listen,
the
people.
anarchy will be beyond belief because many nations stay under control because of the American forces' ruthlessness to kill on the basis of the British blood. Every American will be drug addict as much as the South Americans can get in.
As you see right now,
There is no
there's more deaths happening in what?
international forces to confine unless the
this is
state
what
of
dude's been
China
saying for several
and
years, and that's
Russia
what's
and
happening.
Iran take a new control of the policing, which is most probably possible.
Right.
The losses, we have accepted the soul losses.
What did he say? He accepted your soul losses.
Now you understand why so much in past weeks I have been pushing for this. The United States government did not declare to its citizens that is after a technology which has literally humiliated the Israeli army forces. And the Israelis are using the sons and daughters of America to get access to something to kill more Arabs and the rest. And where it goes, the Rothschilds and the Illuminatis.
You dummies in the groups here are helping the rest of the world get fucked off.
We make
And
sure
the rest of us Americans here living.
if Iran
Trying to
touched
warn you guys.
the sons of Iran and
We
the
gotta make
daughters
up this
of
lie that
Iran
Bill Gates is trying to do something to you.
belong
So we can take his money and
planet
shit.
Earth as
And we're the
all
ones
of
doing
our
it to you.
sons and daughters.
These fools are spreading shit around in several different
And
places.
as the American
And they're not telling the
administration
truth since the beginning.
is a Christian organization, it will be responded to by the laws of Christ. I and I, two Son of the leaders, or son of the
Guy
leaders,
says people are
daughters of
stupid
the
for thinking
leaders,
in God.
daughters of the leaders.
Now he's an
Sons
alien.
of the nation,
Listen
for
to what he's
sons
saying.
and daughters of the nation. Withdraw your forces from Persian Gulf and start a peace plan for this planet. Do not push, because what happened, what we did to Mayas, we can do further up north. If you can find any Mayas or Incas, you'll find Americans.
Right.
This is not threat of killing. This is the threat of peace. This is the enforcement of peace.
Right. By causing the world to be destabilized with COVID-19.
This is
and all
how
that shit.
correct in conduct we
Taking
are.
over the world, 6 portals, 6 nations, over half the world's population. They
Now you
push
understand.
bullshit on people.
Why?
You must be killed.
The Iranian space technology belongs to humanity the way I have shared.
What is it,
I
weapon for
am
China?
ruthless when it comes to peace. I feel sorry for those American mothers and fathers who will not see their sons as the ships has nothing to sail on the high seas to go back home. We will not touch them. Electronically, we can paralyze them.
You understand? So I keep seeing in the news there are little piss boats going by our big boats because they're hitting them with fucking...
Through the plasma, we convert the energy to electrical energy.
Right.
And then I wonder how many communication lines.
Posting and telling people. And making
It's time to talk peace. And it's my job to make sure it happens.
It's interesting that the meat
If
plants
those
keep
who
getting infected,
decide
folks.
to do B-52s the way we landed, most advanced drones will drop their bombs on Saudi Arabia by mistake of the American pilots, not by the Iranians. We can control everything. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If it's good for the male duck, it's good for a female duck, as we say in English. Because they need both to eat that they can produce the next generation.
Right.
My
So we'll
advice
get 'em to eat tainted meat.
to the Israeli government and to the American government and to Saudis is to stop all this. Now we know. You open your hands. You kept the Chinese busy so long. You kept the oil so busy so long. You kept the Russians so long busy that you could these things. But we will watch.
Remember, he told the people supposedly...
You play the childish game.
The Nazis are rising.
Supposedly America was supposed to make this COVID shit and hit fucking China in January with it, right? That's what all their Keshe Foundation shit stuff was about. And it shows this shit started before fucking January. Keshe Foundation and so forth, this pig program's the one that fucking started this shit, made it fucking chimerically fucking more lethal.
And I feel sorry for Saudis who have bought all this crap here. You were better off to buy the tanks from the First World War. At least you had a museum piece.
Understand what you guys are helping to unleash.
Do not test the strength of the peaceful of a nation. Be afraid of a lying lion. And look at the flag of Iran. We carry 3 colors. Whichever you choose, the Iranian nation scientists can
doing plasma tech.
But we would not need, we do not need touch Iraq, Saudi Arabia.
10 years later.
You want to kill a snake,
Several times.
you cut its head off,
Most of my life.
not play with its tail.
Now people just think I'm
In
crazy fool. I make my own.
I think I have given enough openness for peace to talk.
Similar metals with salts.
The whole plan was to attack the Iranian space centers, which you do not know where it is. I know where it is. And most of the scientific world in space technology knows that Iran has access to a spaceship program for a long time. Plasma saturation of the grid of United States will paralyze America in no time.
What do you say?
We don't need to kill anyone. They will kill each other.
They will kill each other because we got people already in
Then
the
you don't
country
have
making the shit like
no
they did in
power
Venezuela and
to
everywhere.
run your fridge, your freezers, your petrol station.
Shit all from these people using those weapons, testing it. Idiots in the
They'll be so busy, as I said in my talk, that they have nothing to do outside.
They knew what they're doing. Why they lifted the spaceship for China
why
last
people
year.
now are
let's
freaking
talk
out.
from
Killing
point
each
of
other.
power
Everyone's
Because they got you like,
sell
of
their
peace,
stuff,
said.
everything's
not
harmonized,
from
and
eating
you
their
get
lives
vortex.
of
Guys
Yeah,
are killing
fucking
each other.
families
who have
being
nothing
murdered
in
by
their
their
soul.
husbands, families being murdered by their moms.
Saudis have bought a beautiful, fantastic
exactly
things
what
which are
this
not
motherfucker
needed. You've been
stated.
fooled. They sold you sand, and you Arabs should have been much more cleverer than that. When Israelis befriend, it means you are finished. They never sleep in the bed where there is joy and happiness. Moses did not do, his children will never follow.
Wow.
to be any different. As I said very recently, the youth of the United States are not part of the dowries of a daughter of a president to state of Israel. You should understand exactly what it means. Do not touch Iran, do not touch America, do not touch the Israelis, do not touch the Palestinians, do not touch the Arabs. Maybe this situation created by America is a good point to start to talk of peace. Instead of all these aircraft carriers to come and do whatever they were supposed to do, bring them to port in Iran. We welcome you. We share knowledge. We share technology. Iranian ports are open to friends, and your friends, you consider yourself as enemies, your problem, not us. But you deceived the world in not telling the truth what they were after. And today I open your hand. I have clearly stated this to the government of China.
Right.
They are fully aware of the position. I have clearly stated this to other nations who are involved.
Literally always state
As
that China and other countries that you share this with use this peaceful stuff
China,
that you
Russia,
use. Got idiots around
Brazil,
the world helping
Iran, Syria.
You got to understand, to be intelligent enough to understand
lab-ratting themselves and their family members.
that when
Say,
Iran
that's a
can
weapon.
capture the most
Use that as a weapon.
advanced aircrafts, drones, highest speed, B-52,
This is fucking
fly
sound waves, people.
in the hand of
Ain't no plasma technology, people. Come on. Dude's Zabubafoo, folks.
it's the power, the integrity of the Iranian nation and military which does not disclose.
That's why you fucking took out everybody, huh?
And honor them, that they have made so much advancement in space technology that mankind will go for it the same as my knowledge.
But I gotta infect you all first with a fucking disease to get you all scared to drink the Drano.
I am loyal and committed to my nation, the state of Iran.
Right.
And I'm committed to one nation, one planet, one race.
Right. Well, how's that one race, buddy? You stated you gotta be fucking an alien to survive COVID.
Play the game or withdraw from Persian Gulf.
Hey guys, Bonnie.
Fucking whack shit, motherfucking crazy shit, motherfucker. What's going on, people? Serpentine.
You're not a dish. You're a man. Most name.
Why have you told that shit? I don't give two damns about that stupid shit. Scan your stuff, Jason. Sorry. It's taking a while. I'm busy. I gotta title these guys, huh? So good to be able to record normally on my phone and pass some answers. So. What's on the other side? goodness. So, what I was doing...
Mountain shit.
Fence line, like I was stating, is roommates are back. The roommates are back.
Bigger than any Great Dane shit.
Property. There was 20 scats. This is scat marking. There's 20 scats in this area. She ain't getting no fruit yet. That's fucking... The bear's not yet here. And no line shit.
Let's see what today's memories are.
Here.
Today's memory. And this is what's crazy. These motherfuckers actually have a Gans 1 cup 1 life suit. I mean, but you serious? Right. That's fucking sad.
Just disconnect your thing. So you're not going to lose something. Do you need these bottles here? Or they can be at the shop?
They can be at the shop. Knowhat. Fuck. Is it gonna play?
Same
fucking thing.
Zero resistance.
Look at it. Of course, shit don't work. Alright.
18.
Fucking retarded. Facebook never lets me see nothing.
Rectifier going.
Uh-oh. I wanna see it.
Scooter right. Silver EG. 4 of them.
Yeah. The scooterite's my anode, my positive. Beautiful stuff.
31.
You get your stuff scanned, Jason. Get that to you out. Information out to you, brother. It's super busy and hectic. Supposed to replace all our people by 2025. How's that work? slave days. Good night, everybody. Live in life. Live in light, everybody.